So part of the process when you're doing pattern bars is to make sure that your edges are nice and clean so that when you fuse them together, they fuse nicely. I've got to do the bottom of this one, and I wanted to show you what it looks like when I'm grinding. So I've got some water flow going. I got a very aggressive 60 grit pad here, and I'm going to just do it real quick for a demonstration. Of course, I have my hearing protection in. Set my speed. Set my wheel turning. I got everything nice and smooth. The wheel grinder pad is nice and wet. I'm just going to grind this. And I make sure that everything is level before I get going. So I've already ground the top and the sides. I've done that to all the sides, and I'm just checking to make sure I've got hit some things off with my pattern. And then I'm going to slice it over with the saw here just a bit to reveal all the inside. So we've got the pattern bar all dressed, top, bottom, and sides. So it's nice and squared up. And now I'm going to cut and start revealing some of the pattern. I never cut the full length, but I've got it set to a little over 1/4 of an inch because I like my pieces about 1/4 of an inch thick. And I'm just going to trim off one edge, and then I'm going to start cutting my pieces. So I've got my saw all cleaned up and ready to go, measured. I've got blade stiffeners in here to keep I have blade stiffeners on my blade to keep it from wobbling. And I'm using a porcelain blade that will cut through here and leave a little bit of chip, but I'm okay with that. That's what it's going to do.
So the next step in the project, when you've cut your pattern bars, you've got them all fused. This is the piece that's been fused. This was the upside, and now this is going to be the upside. This is the side that was in touch with the shelf. The edges on this piece are pretty good, but I like them to be a lot smoother and a lot cleaner. So I'm going to use my grinder here. It's a 24-inch lap wheel. I've got a 60 grit pad here, and I've got some water going. I'm going to just turn this on, and then I'm going to grind the edges. And I use a level to make sure that everything is squared up. And I know that my grinder is squared because I've checked it. So I'm going to turn on the grinder. I've got a good water flow going here because I have a higher, coarser grit, and it takes a little bit more water. And as you work through the pieces, you'll use less and less. So I always do the direction with the piece that I want facing. So let's do this. I've got a nice level side, and I started, and I'm going to grind this edge down. So once we get the edges the way we want them, I need to sandblast this to a nice smooth finish. There's some kiln shelf markings on here, and I want to get that nice and smooth. So I'm going to use my sandblaster here, sandblast that smooth, and then the next step we'll put some powder on it, and then we'll fuse it in the kiln on top of a piece of float glass to get a very smooth back. To make sure I get a good smooth sandblasting, what I'll do is take this Sharpie and I'll cover the whole thing in Sharpie, and then I'll sandblast that off. So I've got my piece sandblasted, and I could put this into fire polish just like this, but I know that I have some glass that is reactionary that could either have lead or cadmium or something in it. So I always coat my pieces with a fine coating of powder, clear powder glass, and then fire polish that. It makes it food safe and it really takes any imperfections out of the piece. You also want to make sure that you have respiratory protection because you're working with powder. So I'm going to put on my mask and I'm going to stop talking. So I've got it coated with my powder. You can still see the glass, so you don't put too much on it. And then I've got a shelf over here that has a piece of float glass on it, or basically window glass that I've treated with zip. And it's going to give me the smoothest back I've ever had. So I'm just going to gently lay this in here. And you notice that this is a piece of glass that I coated with zip. It's going to really give me a nice smooth bottom on this piece when I'm finished.